Don't shut me out. Not again!
You can't be. You're
Dead?
Oh.
Lies! All lies! Friends don't abandon you when you need them most. I paid.
I did nothing wrong. Oh, I killed you!
Look at my no one wants to talk. Let's talk to someone. Right?
You have always been so controlling.
Maybe you need a drink, huh?
You drink, but you don't wake up. Shut up! It's my week. Don't shut me out! Don't shut me out!
Hello, are we ready to go? Oh, hello. Welcome to the Josh and Tyler Show. I'm Josh. This is Tyler. Our intro went as well as could be expected for a Friday morning. What's up?
Well, it's not my fault this damn thing asks recording in progress. It's just like,
voice now.
shut up. We don't care. We know already. It's been a year of doing this.
It never did it to me until like a week ago.
Yeah, when did that... Are we gonna like have a surprise for guest who keeps coming in and out of it again, or what?
I don't know what happened with that, but I was so confused. So weird. I don't know who got the link.
And she just got bored out of her mind. It's just like, oh, you losers again.
But how you been, Tyler?
I've been doing just fine. There were a couple days where I kind of regretted coming back to work just based on the heavy workload that we had, but they did send an email saying, thank you for everybody. Get your well-earned rest. And plus I have a 3-day weekend. I got nothing to complain about.
Yeah, 3-day weekends are always a good thing. I appreciated going back to work, but there's one thing I don't appreciate: cliches in film, and that is today's topic. Yeah, there's a lot of cliches in film. Yeah, Tyler, I only have one honorable mention. I don't know if you have multiples.
See, it took me a while just to sum up what I hated the most about my top 6, as weirdly enough. And part of that was because based on the busy week that I've had less time to work on these lists than as expected. But don't get me wrong, I still got the passion. I still know what movies and shows to pull from. But yeah, I don't really have that many dishonorable mentions just because the stuff I hate most is there. I think the closest thing I can think of is the false alarm trick in horror movies, which is more of a filmmaking cliche, but is absolutely true. And, you know, before I started watching horror movies, I thought that would be a great thing to write it in. And then I started watching more and I just realized, oh, this serves absolutely no purpose but to keep us from not getting bored for an extra 10 minutes. And not to mention, the false alarms aren't even really all that convincing or realistic. It's someone grabbing their shoulder because they can't just say, hey, what's up, or anything like that. I think Cinemaster summed it up best, where it's just like, does anyone know how to just say hello as opposed to just grabbing your shoulder and scaring the shit out of everybody?
That reminds me of another one. People, this is one that didn't make my list. People who plan to do things but never set a date or a time and just presume that you know where it's going to be. Oh, yeah, I'll meet you there. Where is that? What time? What are you doing? Do you need to bring anything? No, just yeah, no, this is great. Friday. Where? What? I'm just confused. Like, they could say, oh, yeah, the usual time at the usual place. Like, that works. Also, people climbing out of the water completely dry.
Like Michael Caine in Jaws 4.
Yeah, or just literally any Bond girl ever just climbing out of the water and then dry. What the heck?
Or the Charlie's Angels sequel where they just walk out completely slow-mo holding up a surfboard because McG hit.
Yeah, well, I watched the first Charlie's Angels movie again, I don't know, about 3-4 months ago. Oh my goodness. That is the most random nonsense I have seen in my entire life. I don't
gotta be honest,
it's good, but I was amused greatly.
I gotta be honest, I actually like this. I actually like Full Throttle more than the first one because it's more over the top and also more self-serious. And even though it technically makes it worse, it does feel like there's more effort being put into it, especially because they go a little bit more elaborate with the wire foo stunt work for me, anyways.
No, I was just watching this movie and my brain was like, wait, what? That was like the whole concept of they're like, okay, they're at the party. Oh, now they're doing this. Oh, this is happening. What is why are they dressed like Germans in front of the house singing?
Oh look, what? Drew Barrymore's fucking Tom Green.
Okay, all right. Now they're here. Okay. It just felt very random. And I don't like I'm pretty sure it's not a good movie, but is it a good cult experience? No. Only time will tell. Another the last cliche for my honorable mentions, really freaking big air vents. Air vents in movies that characters can crawl through. No one puts air vents that big. I'm sorry, but air vents are meant to be as small as possible, so they're cheap. I first noticed this while watching Mall Cop when it came out in like 2009 or whatever.
And Kevin James somehow can fit in there.
Yeah, no, like, and then Die Hard has air vents, and like everyone can crawl through the air vents, and they're on a heist. Oh, let's go through the air vents. Air vents aren't that big. They're tiny cylindrical things, maybe tiny squares in the ceiling. But no, that's not how air vents work.
Which reminds me, the first time I saw that was in Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, because once in a while that would be a recurring thing where they would sneak from one section of the hotel for another. And then for whatever reason, they would add in another thing where Zach or Cody is crawling with someone else, and the other person goes, "Why is it stinking here?" And Zach and Cody just go, "Sorry," and they just go. Now, thankfully, that bit died out very quickly, and then eventually, once they got to like, oh, let's go through the vent, it'll cut to them out of the vent and into the room. So eventually, whether it was because of budgetary reasons or for safety concerns, they got rid of that entirely.
Yeah, I mean, just crawl, like vents are not that big. Like it doesn't make me super angry, but it's just like
there's one example where it works in Mission Impossible where they're breaking into Langley. That is a great example.
I feel like Langley would have if they're a top if Langley is a top secret facility, why would they have human-sized vents that humans could crawl through? Wouldn't, making the vents not human-sized eliminate the possibility of people crawling in through your vents?
May I remind you that this is Mission Impossible we're talking about?
Yeah, they do have face masks. Yeah.
And may I also remind you that scene is the best scene in the fucking movie. Keep that in mind.
The first Mission Impossible movie I like actually very, very much. But yes.
It's good.
When he drops down, that is one of the best scenes, yes.
Oh, the whole sequence, just the amount of silence in that, and just the claustrophobia of Luthor trying to hang on to Ethan while he's trying to deal with that rat. Oh, no, that was John Reno. Never mind. But either way, it still works to great effect.
Yeah, I mean, but vents, vents are, who makes vents that size? I want to go to the oversized vent store and like have a chat with them. So let's jump into our list today. Tyler, what do you got at number 6 for cliches you can't stand?
My number 6 cliche is one that I like to call comedy gibberish. There is, it's a special nickname that I've come up with, but
I'm curious.
There's a form of comedy that has become incredibly popular nowadays that for the life of me, I just can't understand why, and that is cringe humor. And my big problem with cringe humor can be summed up by describing a cliche that every sitcom, and especially every Judd Apatow production has, where the only source of humor in a big scene is someone rambling nonstop while everyone else in the room just stares at them, waiting for them to stop talking or waiting for the rambler to look the other way so that they can walk away, so that there's the one shot of the character looking and talking about something random in the view. And when they turn back, it'll cut to empty space because that person has already left. Once in a while, there are even some bystanders who walk by and take the time to just stare at or judge them based on the random and even dumbest, most offensive things that come out of their mouth. Almost every YouTube video essay about comedy tends to say the exact same thing. Mainstream comedy relies more on verbal humor than ever before, and most comedies, it really is just the actors throwing out the script and improvising off of each other to move the story and the jokes forward in a more unpredictable way. And honestly, there are plenty of times where it does work and those moments become incredibly iconic because of how spontaneous they are. But whenever these moments fall ridiculously flat, which is more often than I'd like it to be, the bits just go on for fucking ever. And it is excruciating to listen to these actors go on and on about shit that's just not funny, even when the actors themselves are incredibly talented. And I think there are two reasons why moments like these completely drag. For one, half of these rants rely on just describing pop culture references in great detail, like somehow that's telling a joke. You remember in the Ghostbusters reboot where as they're trying to describe a ghost attack after Bill Murray got thrown out of a window, and the cop is just like, oh, what, did you see Patrick Swayze or whatever? And then Melissa McCarthy, as angrily and sarcastically as possible, just summarizes the pottery scene from Ghost like she's reading off of a Wikipedia article. And I'm sorry, that's not telling a joke. Those bits are not jokes. It's just, come on, guys, you can do better than that. And even when the writers or the performers do come up with original material, the scenarios that the characters rant about are just so random that they never make any sense. And I get that that's the original point. The whole point of these jokes is that they're supposed to come completely out of left field, and that's what makes them funny. But it still has to say something about the character that makes them likable or even relatable. When Chris Stuckman reviewed Tom and Jerry, and he played a clip that basically sums up this cliche where characters are rambling nonstop about things that have nothing to do with the conversation, it leads to a character saying, kind of like the time that I lost my little brother. By the way, don't tell anybody, because I just sat there, I'm like, Jesus, Billy, where are you? And I'm just like, okay, first of all, how is this supposed to be funny if she lost the kid and hasn't found him? And two, why should I care about any of these characters if that's what they're talking about? It's just, for me, it's the kind of style that only really works in a Whose Line Is It Anyway type of show, where it's painfully obvious that's the kind of humor that we're expecting. Because I've seen the performers on Whose Line perform live at Center in the Square, and that was one of, if not the best concerts I've ever been to. But you don't go there to expect stories and sketches. You just expect them to come up with as many funny scenarios, surface level, as possible. And I know that's what they're trying to do here, but it just doesn't work in a movie or TV show if it's scripted and there's supposed to be a character arc.
Yeah,
So,
I'm trying to think of an example, and my first thought goes to Hunt for the Wilder People, if you remember this film.
There are moments like that, but at the same time, I'm thinking
of where the Child Protective Services lady is on one side and what's his name is on the other side. She's like, I'm like the Terminator. And he's like, well, I'm like Sarah Connor. And she's like, from the first film. And he's like, no, from the second film when she could actually do stuff. And I'm now thinking about that exchange. And I'm like, I'm trying to think of other examples. And my brain just isn't naturally going to it. I don't think I pull those out as much as you do. So
maybe it's because I'm so used to walking in on my parents watching these really dumb and ridiculous comedies or sitcoms like Superstore or Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I know you're not a fan of either one of those.
I mean, I think Superstore has a lot of good ideas, but I think Superstore is playing it so safe. Like, they are so PG, it's ridiculous. You could watch this with your 7-year-old and not be offended, but they're not being funny at the same time. I think they need to take more risks. That's my biggest critique of that show. As opposed to Brooklyn Nine-Nine has, they do take risks, but I don't know if they pay off.
Okay, yeah, that's completely fair. But in Superstore, there are just so many times where I see America Ferrera or Ben Feldman just standing there waiting for their boss, the dude from Kids in the Hall, or waiting for the tough supervisor who is legitimately funny, just waiting for them to shut the hell up. And I'm just sitting there going, okay, some of this is kind of funny, but are you pulling this out of your ass? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, I have seen people sitting and waiting for their turn to be quiet, and I didn't really always find it funny. I just sort of skipped over it. My brain just sort of just zips past it, you know?
Yeah, and that's totally fair. Like, don't get me wrong, like I said, I struggled to find that many cliches that really pissed me off all that much. I just thought that this would be an incredibly passionate list to talk about. And
oh yeah, and again, everyone's gonna have little things that bother them, and I've never really noticed this. Now I'm never gonna be able to unsee this in movies.
Well, tough.
No,
I don't
but
know if
yeah,
you really
that's
watched them.
real
I don't know if
interesting.
you really watched that much Judd Apatow stuff to begin with.
Judd, what did he do? I watched Freaks and Geeks. I enjoyed that to a certain extent. That was a cute little show. That was back in the day.
Like the most recent stuff he did was Trainwreck with Amy Schumer, which has an
I like Trainwreck.
incredible.
I do like
incredible
Trainwreck
amount of
because I
this
think
stuff.
Bill Hader's really great in it, and LeBron James is fantastic. Amy Schumer is funny at points, but I think it's a cute little movie. I do enjoy Trainwreck quite a bit because Bill Hader is really funny in every scene.
Yeah,
That is
and
wild.
I still really need to get to King of Staten Island because I'm really looking
I have
forward
not
to
seen that yet. I
for a
mean,
more
I was
dramatic
watching
standpoint.
Pineapple Express the other day. I enjoy that one, and then what was that? Oh my goodness,
Yeah,
what's
and I
that
think
one?
Seth Rogen working with Apatow kind of started this. Like, you know that 40-year-old virgin bit where it's just
Yeah.
him and Paul Rudd going, you know how I know you're gay? How?
Oh
Two
yeah, on the
words.
chairs,
You're
yeah.
gay. Like, it's those kind of bits that go on for fucking ever,
Mm.
but Apatow, for whatever reason, just refuses to make a cut. He feels like
Mm.
he has to show off every single little bit. And I feel like that's the inception of this
Mm.
cliche, or at least where it took off.
That's fair. And again, you have to have really talented performers to hold that camera shot, or like a really, or if you're holding a camera shot, it works better if they're saying nothing because it's
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, pretty solid. I will come in at number 6 with, I will start off with an example of how, if you do not follow the cliche, it's freaking awesome. Okay, so Kill Bill, the Crazy 88 fight, one of the best fights in cinema history. You know what that fight has in common with some of the John Wick fights?
They hold the camera still.
Yes, well, that too. Everyone attacks at once. The bad guys aren't sitting around waiting their turn to attack. They're attacking. And then you get these awesome, ridiculous, over-the-top fights where everyone is trying to attack our hero. And in this case, it could be Kill Bill. And in some cases, it's John Wick when he has to take on 4 or 5 bad guys at once. It's not like, oh, well, if you go, then I'll go. It's not like they all drew numbers to wait their turn and such. And I will give props to the first Avengers where all the bad guys attacked at once. They straight up all attacked at once and they just went. That's sort of how it is. And I like that. I like that the bad guys are bad. There's a couple things bad guys shouldn't do. Bad guys shouldn't wait their turn. They shouldn't explain a damn thing. They should just fucking kill you. They should take the opportunity to kill you. If you're a bad guy in a freaking film, send all your goons, your entire army. If I was in Braveheart and Mel Gibson was given his freaking speech of they may take our lives but not our freedom, well, he's making his speech. That's when you charge and slaughter them. You're a freaking bad guy. You are not here to make friends. You are not here to be like, oh, well, maybe if we have the knights fight one at a time in a tournament, he won't defeat all of us. Maybe if we have lancing fights in the Knight's Tale, one at a time, we can defeat them. No, you are the freaking bad guy. Do it now. Send all your goons, all your bad guys, and don't you dare pull an A-team on me where you send your weakest goons first and there's only like 2 of them and they wait their turn, they throw them out a window. No, send the big bad guys, send the tanks, blow them the fuck up, and get on with your day. Because we don't have time to watch you fight one by one or the one sniper that's shooting and then the other guy fires. No, all the guys fire. All the rocket launchers fire. All the kung fu guys come and fucking fight you. The only time this works is in Ip Man 2. Donnie Yen plays Ip Man, the guy who trained Bruce Lee, and he comes to a new town where he wants to establish a karate school. So to establish his dominance, he has to fight on a table that's balanced, but every master is a master in their own right. So out of respect, they sit around and they fight one at a time to prove their worth against him. And that's the only time I've ever thought this trope has worked, of going one at a time. But it's because of their respect and their culture and that they are masters and they do train others, that they go solo. But other than that, just murder the good guys straight up. Don't wait. Send all your bad guys in at once. Send all your aliens, all your armies. Just do it.
Okay, first of all, if they were to charge in on William Wallace making his speech, that is a comedy. That is not dramatic. There's no heft to it whatsoever. There's a reason you have to suspend disbelief on certain stuff like that. I understand what you mean about like people fighting all at once, even though at the very least, you could accidentally stab your own friend as you're attacking at once, which is the reason I think people fight one at a time so they actually know what the fuck they're doing. I can only imagine the guys who made scary movies, superhero movie, disaster movie. Imagine if they made action movie and if they fought all at once, they would have accidentally killed each other because they didn't talk.
If you are a bad guy and you have a gun or a knife or a sword or you're fighting them with a stapler, it doesn't matter. You are a highly trained bad guy. You ain't some security guard guarding like a private Catholic school at night. No, you're a dude who knows how to use weapons. You are going to be very, very careful not to fight your friend. And that if that means holding them back or pinning them down or getting a punch in so your other dude can get in there. And maybe the other dude's in there, you know, trying to hold them back so you can shoot them in the gut or whatever, you know, like you ain't going to wait. You're going to help in some aspect. And maybe that doesn't involve shooting or stabbing so you don't hit someone else, but maybe that's involves helping restrain or just generally punching them in the face because, you know, that's what you do. You're a bad guy in a movie. You're highly trained and you probably have some sort of hipster mustache or beard if it's between 2010 and 2018 with a tiny little handlebar or a goatee.
Okay, not every henchman is Hulk Hogan. I mean, really.
I mean, from when there was just a phase there. Like even in the first John Wick, a lot of these guys had goatees or fancy little mustaches. Equalizer, a lot of movies from that era, from 2010 to 2020, had these guys with tiny mustaches or goatees that were bad guys. And you're like, how do you know they're bad? They're tiny mustaches or goatees.
I guess, but if they're bad guys, I can't imagine why they would be loyal to each other, especially if they're hired guns. Like, it really doesn't matter who stays alive as long as it's you at the end and you get
so they would all attack.
Master.
My point is they would all attack, but for the sake of making a movie seem longer or cooler, they make them all attack one at a time, and I don't like that. Just
it does draw out the attention. It does draw out the tension. I mean, when you want to work your way up.
Yeah, but you could do what you do within John Wick. You have 3 or 4 guys approach John Wick that are in the room. He knocks out 2 or 3 of them and they have to get back up, and he focuses on one, and then the other guys slowly get back up because he punched them to the ground, you know? But they all tried to attack at once. They put in the effort to do that. Like, just disable them until you need them. Like, literally just have them all attack at once like logical people. That's all I'm saying. It don't make a lot of sense.
I'm just playing devil's advocate on this one. I'm trying to make it fun, but clearly I'm not succeeding at that. But either way.
But yeah, I'll attack at once. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
You know, when I'm playing video games, and I'm playing Battlefront 2 on the original Xbox from 2005, and I'm sitting there and I'm playing that, and there's a button where I've got 4 buttons. One is follow me, one's disembark, and the other one is everyone attack now. That's what I want. Everyone attack now.
You are so passionate that you're freezing. I love it.
Yeah, sometimes I become a popsicle. It's fun. What do you got at your number 5 cliche?
Not nearly anywhere as exciting as this, but I'm gonna have to really try on this one.
You're good. Don't worry about me. I'm just passionate.
For me, some of the most enjoyable characters are socially awkward and out of their comfort zone at the beginning of the movie or show, but they still walk into a new and just a dangerous scenario as bravely as possible, and usually come out swinging with this newfound sense of confidence. Thing is, almost every character like this has to go through the first impression stage where they try their best to fit in, but fail miserably. And this is what I call the fish out of water making a huge mess.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And look, this should be easy to portray in a nonchalant, natural way where you just don't know what to say and you turn people off. That I completely understand. I've done that plenty of times myself. But most movies or shows go for more painfully obvious slapstick routine where the main character mistakes so many nonchalant gestures or signs of something threatening and dangerous. So they end up destroying everything in sight, making everyone except for their original friends immediately afraid of them or ashamed of them. And for me, it's just such a terrible way to start off an arc like that. I understand what the point of it, all of it is. You're supposed to laugh at the pain of our main character while also identifying with the pain that comes with trying and failing to make a first impression. A good example of this cliche working is that one Seinfeld episode where George is invited to a girlfriend's birthday party for her son. But when a fire breaks out in the kitchen, he shoves everyone out of the way so he can get out alive. Now, that's funny because you're laughing at him for how selfish he is, but you also feel bad because based on the genuine misery that he doesn't deserve on a regular basis, you do wish that for once a relationship of his could work out. But scenes like this also point out the worst and actually weirdest thing about this cliche. The slapstick is so over the top on purpose so that you're not really reminded of anything personal that happened to you, and so you can't take it seriously. But I actually think that does a lot worse, because if a main character can destroy so many things and can cause so much destruction by accident, it actually feels a lot more mean-spirited when everyone starts glaring at them. And as much as I love Disney movies and shows, all of them have these moments that just are the worst part of them because of how uncomfortable the glaring is. Like in Tarzan, where he accidentally almost kills people by starting an elephant stampede trying to pull a hair off of one of their tails. And looking at this DuckTales poster, my least favorite episodes of the show, ironically, have all of these fish out of water moments. You can't see her in here, but there's an alien who is trying to get accustomed to Earth. And of course, she finds every single thing a physical threat and just punches and kicks the shit out of all of it. Meanwhile, the one girl who was the first person to experience the fish out of water scenario, Kate Micucci, did the exact same thing when she went to a kid's arcade. There was a guy dressed up as a mascot or whatever, and to her defense, he was technically an evil person trying to kidnap her, but regardless, even if the guy was an innocent person in a costume, she would have done the same thing. She just smacked him in the gut with a guitar and did a backflip that kicked him into like an arcade and destroyed it. And it was everyone's favorite game. So they all looked at her really stupid. And it's just like, I hated this cliche so much as a kid. Every time it happened, I either hit mute or I just plugged my ears because I didn't want to experience it. We're supposed to enjoy the hell out of these movies and shows. We're not supposed to feel as depressed as they are.
Yeah, no, this is a very common trope. I call it the awkward first date trope, where everything has to go wrong.
Oh, yeah,
How
that's
many
absolutely
dates in
true
movies
too.
are horribly, awfully wrong because of literally X, Y, or Z? Or how many, oh, I'm going to meet your parents. Oh, that's going to go right because it's a movie. No, it never goes right. I mean, the worst example of this is, Why Him? If you remember that film.
Oh, yeah.
Where they
like
go to
Bryan
meet the
Cranston...
parents and immediately they don't like each other because like one thing he says and then it's weird and it's awkward and you're just like, no, you wouldn't say that. Why Him is a really bad movie.
Or that one scene where he thinks that, where Cranston thinks that Franco's spying on him with a drone. So he picks up the rock and instead of hitting the drone, hits some random person in the crowd because, yeah, we really want to feel great for a guy who's willing to do violence or property destruction.
Or as much as I love some modern comedies, I think this moment is not like the first time I thought it was really funny. So the first date they go on in Mike and Dave Need Wedding Dates is ATV in Hawaii. What do? They smack the bride in the face with an ATV. Yeah, it's the first time it was funny, and the second time I'm like, well, they could have just listened to reason and not have been awkward because they were trying to be something they're not and it didn't work out, you know? Or where they lie on their dating profile and they're like, I'm this and this, and then they get there and they don't know what to say. Or the one where the spy can't give away any information, so he says something really awkward or something. I get this awkward trope and I do not like it. It's almost as bad as the will they won't they trope where they're like, well, I don't know if they're going to be together, but they've been together and broken up 6 times over the course of this show. And I'm like, get the fuck together or don't talk to each other. Like, just get it over with.
Just you wait for that one.
But yeah, no, I understand this trope wholeheartedly. And I'm with you on this 100%.
There's even, hell, the fucking mother of Huey, Dewey, and Louie does this on DuckTales too. Because, yeah, for those that don't know, Huey, Dewey, and Louie finally have a parent for once. And she's actually an interesting character. Not really because of the first episode where she meets all of them and she tries her best to be the cool mom by baking them cakes that give them food poisoning, or their bedtime story being more of a horror story that keeps them awake at night, or accidentally starting up this giant robot that for whatever reason they have in the garage.
Yeah, me
that
too. I got one of
almost
those.
destroys the house and almost kills the housekeeper who is a secret agent. And there's seriously, even as kids, this didn't work. It sucked, and it still sucks.
You know what? You know what movies are the worst offenders of the? You mentioned two tropes: the random mumbling, and this. Every Adam Sandler movie ever. Adam Sandler on the
Damn
first date.
right.
Damn
right. This almost,
Oh,
damn
sorry.
right
Did I
this
make a
always
bad
happens.
first impression? I didn't know how to do that, so I said hubla blub. That's literally Adam Sandler's comedy formula.
Yep.
That's what the man does. That's why I don't like the movies. Like I watched Happy Gilmore again, and Happy Gilmore has some funny moments. I like Bob Barker. I think he's really cool in this.
Yeah, Happy Gilmore is funny and is one
But
of the
I just
best.
think that whenever he gets in an uncomfortable situation where he doesn't know how to do anything, he just starts yelling fuck and beating a golf ball. That is not funny. Just
Well,
like raising my voice now
sometimes-
is not.
They do have good moments.
There
Don't
are
get me wrong.
moments. When he talks to the golf ball, that's clever. When he's talking to Bob Barker,
like that,
when he gets
yeah.
beat up by him, when he's working with the real estate agent, there's some charming moments there. But yelling at a golf ball and yelling "fuck" at a golf ball is not comedy. That is
Hell,
not.
I like
comedy.
it. I like it when he's at the miniature golf course and he gets pissed off at the clown section. It's just like, hey, he's just laughing. Ha, ha, ha. Then after the third time where he gets it in the hole, but it spits it out, he's just like, you're gonna die, clown! Fuck you stupid clown. Hey, whoa.
But they set up a
calm down.
joke there. They set
they
up
do.
a rule
They
of
do.
thirds where they said, okay, here's this.
Yeah, it literally is.
This
first.
is your golf ball not going in. He's getting frustrated, doing understandable humor that works for about 10 seconds. And then it just sort of needs to stop. But yeah, Adam Sandler is the worst offender of this type of comedy.
Damn right. And
I mean, even what was that what's that thing in Billy Madison? He sees a giant rabbit or whatever.
I've never seen Billy Madison.
He sees
all the
a
way
giant
through, I gotta be
animal or
honest.
whatever, and he's like, it's the giant bunny.
There's
And they're
one.
like, what? They're
There's
like,
one
"The
Happy
giant
Madison
bunny."
moment.
And I'm like, oh, just no.
Here's the thing, though. There's one Happy Madison moment where it works, and it's in Paul Blart where they're at the karaoke bar, and after Paul has that thing of tequila where he's just like, "Oh wait, I don't drink," and then he starts singing, and that moment that everyone in the theater just laughed their asses off is when he plows right through the window. That part was funny.
Yeah,
Mostly just because maybe because the shock value was just that far out there.
it's the funniest joke in the whole movie. That is why people
Yeah.
laughed, because Paul Blart Mall Cop, I'm going to say it, I have watched that movie more times than the average human should. I don't think it's a good
that
movie.
before.
I hold nostalgia value to it, but it's really crappy. The first half is barely a movie, and then the second half has some decent action, and then they play some 80s songs I like. That's about the best I could say about the movie. But will I watch it again? Probably. And
Yeah.
I don't know why.
None of us do.
But yeah, no, I understand the awkward. Yeah, and I don't like it. My number 5 is I've quantified it as the stupid person who does something that defies all logic that starts a problem. I'm going to confine this mostly to teenagers and kids. We'll start off with example A. Have you seen any horror movie where they say, don't open the door? If you open the door, bad things will happen. Literally, if they didn't open the door, the movie wouldn't exist. The parent can't restrain their 5-year-old from opening a fucking door or put a deadbolt
Parents
on it
don't
that they
do this
can't reach.
either. I mean,
Are you kidding me? Come on.
dude.
Restrain
Parents
your
don't do this
child.
either. Parents don't do this either. Have you ever seen the other side of the door where the housekeeper tells the couple who have lost their kids, just like, there's this temple where you can see your kid for the last time, but just remember, don't open the door. And guess what happens? They open the door, the son becomes possessed and whatever, starts killing everybody, and then
hey,
and then-
look at me.
hold on, it
It's
gets
the
better.
purge. I gotta
then it gets
open the
better.
door. No, you shouldn't. I don't care who it is. Don't open the damn door.
or at the end of other side of the door where the mother actually trades places with the son, and then the husband goes to the temple to see her, and from the great beyond or the underworld of wherever the fuck this temple is, she's just like, no, don't open the door. And then he opens the door, cliffhanger ending, and it's just like,
No. Or, hello, hey, You know that little thing in the door that you can look through to see who's on the other side of the door, or the obviously large window? You can look to see who it is, and you're like, oh, hey, I don't actually know that person. I'm not going to open the door. You know, The Purge, The Gift with Joel Edgerton, or the dumb teenager who opens something they shouldn't. Let's talk Evil Dead. You know, Ash is like, oh, look at this book. It's covered in blood and death, and it says don't open. You know what I should do? Open it. It says don't read. Yeah, I should read that. Ah, man, that's a great idea.
Well, here's the thing. In the original Evil Dead, they play the cassettes that activate the spell. In the Evil Dead remake, that Kurt Cobain-looking motherfucker opens up the book in a garbage can with barbed wire. And the book is made of human flesh. There's no one else around. Hold on. Yeah. There is no one else around to read it. So he reads it out loud anyways. And it's just like, it
clearly says, do not read, do not open, do not touch. It's wrapped in barbed wire. It's made of human flesh. And your logic is, yeah, I'm going to read that. And then you're surprised when something bad happens.
No, he's not surprised. He confesses halfway through, and for whatever reason, nobody says, you fucking... I want to say it, but I don't know if YouTube guidelines will let me, but...
all I know is I like the Evil Dead remake, except for the fact of how they opened the book.
I hate the remake.
I think the remake is a genius movie to portray drug addiction and the last 24 hours of going through withdrawal of being on drugs.
I didn't even really think it was that addressed.
I think it's great. It's honestly, it's one of my favorites, but it's dumb how they open a book. I mean, I like in Cabin in the Woods how they play on this cliche where they're like, we all these different things.
We'll cover more ground.
Yeah.
Really? Oh, you know, my dad and I, every time we watched Food Network or hockey, there would be this car commercial where the teenagers are running. It's just like, hey, where should we go? No, we should go to his house. No, we should go to that car that has keys in the ignition. That's ridiculous. Let's hide him in the tool shack with all the weapons, and the serial killer just looks at him and is just like, I mean, that commercial is fucking hilarious for that exact reason.
Like, there's a point in every movie where a character's logic goes away for the sake of a plot convenience. And this is when they do something dumb, because something has to happen. It's in Sam Raimi's Drag Me to Hell, where the old lady has to be mistreated at the bank or no one can put a curse on her. When all they had to do was say, sorry, we're a little busy right now. Just give us a moment. Literally, if no one had mistreated her, she'd be like, you know what? No, I'm not going to drag you to hell. You know, they wouldn't have opened the book. They wouldn't have had any of the purges because everyone would be like, well, you know, it's purge night. You know what I'm going to do? Stay inside. And if anyone knocks on the door, I'm not going to answer it. I'm just going to sit in my basement and read a book. And in the morning, I'll be just fine. You know, like,
no, you're not going to be just fine. You let an innocent person get brutally murdered.
Yeah, but then there is logic here. If it's purge night and you're outside, what are you doing? Why?
Who's that? Look, I'm not. Well, for starters, that guy was homeless, so
they just need they need a better system. Okay, all I'm saying is if someone tells you not to do something in a horror movie and it says don't do that, or the cabin or the house looks haunted, maybe just avoid it altogether. You know,
or better yet, if you want to avoid a serial killer, do not hide in the closet. Go for the fucking front door.
Yeah, I mean, everyone is hid in the closet. You know, that doesn't really work. Yeah.
You stay here, my daughter, while I go check on your mother and your sister. But aren't there psychotic killers in the house? Yes. So they won't suspect it if we split up. You're a horrible father. I'm glad you're gonna die.
Maybe you all grab weapons, fight together, and get out of the house and just set the thing on. Like, you know, one thing I've always wanted them to do in movies, as soon as something bad happens in a house and their friend gets possessed or someone gets murdered, just set the whole house on fire and leave in your car. Just don't even come back. Just do it. Just gone. Just arson.
That does kind of remind me. Have you ever seen a movie called The Invitation?
No.
Okay, I want to, and it's on Netflix. So
okay.
I'm only asking because it's apparently a cult horror movie from the lady that made Jennifer's Body and
I like Jennifer's Body. That is a dumb movie, but
Destroyer with Nicole Kidman.
I haven't seen Destroyer, but I've seen the poster for Destroyer.
Yeah, Nicole Kidman dressed up like Charlize Theron in Monster, which gotta say the makeup job on her is really good.
Pretty dope. Yeah, but yeah, I just don't like the stupid person who starts trouble without thinking. Like their character just goes to shit because reasons.
You know what? I can't believe I didn't think of that.
Yeah, it just drives me it annoys me. I'll turn off movies. I will literally turn off movies if they pull this trope on me and I don't have an interest in it otherwise, and that looks pretty cool. So
I'm glad Brittany from Glee was never in a horror movie because she would cause so many of these problems.
I watched 1 or 2 episodes of Glee and I thought, oh, I'm very glad that they represent the entire cross section of the population with popular music covers that I don't appreciate. I'm sure people like it. It's just not for me. That was my thought. I'm glad you like it. I mean,
I like some of the songs and I like some of the dialogue, even though it's just way off, but that also ties into my number 4 selection on this list. Oddly,
I think I got turned off by Glee because the episode I watched, they covered Singing in the Rain badly.
That wasn't the best song of that episode. Honestly, they covered Make 'Em Laugh a hell of a lot better.
I just don't like them covering Singing in the Rain because
I knew, trust me, I knew when I watched that clip last week, it's just like, note to self, do not show Josh this because no matter how much I like it, he's not going to stand
And then the Journey episode, that was the other one I watched. It did nothing for me because I don't.
You're going to have to be a little more specific on that one.
What they do, Don't Stop Believing.
Again, you're going to have to be more specific on that one.
I don't know. I watched it once and I forgot that it existed, minus that they did Don't Stop Believing.
To anyone who has never seen Glee, yes, they do Don't Stop Believing on an annual basis.
I just don't know why people like that song. I think it's an okay song, but if you're looking at Journey's catalog, allow me to go on a rant. Wheel in the Sky is a much better song. Mother, Father, Stone in Love, everything off their other albums. This is like their most poppy, most generic. Like it has the one really cool ascending guitar solo, which is neat. I like that. But lyrically, it's not very interesting. It's not Steve Perry's best vocal performance. It's just pop schlup. I mean, if you had told me that Faithfully is their big one that everyone knows, I would get that because that's a really well-written song and he wrote it for his wife on the road and it's got good meaning and everyone really enjoyed making that song and it has a significant convenience to the band. Whereas Don't Stop Believing was just like, yeah, you know, that's a cool little song. Let's put it on the album and see how it does. And then boom, it's the one that everyone knows. But Journey is a freaking prog rock band. Steve Perry wasn't in it. They made 3 albums of prog rock and it was beautiful. Go continue, Tyler. That's my little rant.
Anyways, my number 4 selection on this ties into the way people portray dialogue in movies. And one thing that is really hit and miss for me when it comes to dialogue is when a character is supposed to be the average person you meet on the street, but when the scene calls for this Shakespearean level of human drama or this incredibly clever comedic wit to it, they all of a sudden have the knowledge and vocabulary of an Ivy League student or a pop culture obsessed nerd, which I like to call it the everyman intellectual. Aaron Sorkin does this, Christopher Nolan does this, Ryan Murphy, Diablo Cody, obviously Quentin Tarantino, they all do it. And even in some of their best moments, some lines of dialogue just feel so blatantly obvious in what it's trying to say and is so incredibly unrealistic, especially when the characters are supposed to be teenagers or when the actors are supposed to be teenagers, that sometimes you feel like the creators are just trying to show off how talented writers they are more than they are actually serving the story or the character development. And tying back into Glee, there's a quick example of this where the mean girl of Glee Club, Santana, looks at the main character, Rachel, who is dressed more like Britney Spears, very promiscuous, short, everything on her. And she just goes, "Wow, congratulations, Rachel. Normally you look like the fantasy of a perverted Japanese businessman with a dark and very specific fetish, but I actually dig this look. Yay." And there are other examples like that, or I understand Rachel has a big schnoz and broke it. I wouldn't know because like Medusa, I try to avoid eye contact with her. And look, these lines are funny, but really, when was the last time a teenager ever spoke like this? Oh, wait, I know that answer. Right after they watched that episode and seriously thought that the cool kids actually talk that way. I know from my own experience trying to talk this way that everybody laughs in your faces because it makes no fucking sense.
I'm trying to think of an example. My brain is blanking here.
But when it comes to human drama on that side, Nolan is notorious for this because, much to my and your confusion, people really seem to love it when Nolan analyzes every single thought and feeling that every character within the movie has, no matter how many scenes they have or no matter how pointless they are as characters. I think it was Nostalgia Critic who said it best, where he was talking about The Dark Knight and the way that characters talk more like film critics as opposed to the way people or even fictional characters do, especially when the Joker, as he's burning the money, just goes, it's not about money, it's about sending a message. And in my head, I'm just like, yeah, that's what a film critic would say when he's typing out his review in a newspaper or something.
That's
like
true.
that.
Yeah. No, I never
And
really
I
thought of
know-
it that way. That's a good
And I know some people are going to defend that by saying, well, it's based off of a comic book. What would you expect? That doesn't work because the world that Nolan created for the Batman characters, there are no superpowers, there's no advanced futuristic technology. It takes place in the present. I would expect the dialogue to be as grounded in reality as everything else. And going back to the teenager thing, I was watching an interview from Bo Burnham yesterday about how he was writing 8th grade, and he talked about researching the way teenagers talk on YouTube, where they talk more like their favorite characters in movies and TV as opposed to probably what they would actually sound like in real life. And he said it best, where it's just like they sound personal and generic at the same time, very honest, but still very guarded. And it's weird that Hollywood is copying the way that teenagers copy off of Hollywood movies. And it just makes me wonder, where are we going with this?
No, I've never really thought about that. And I can see a couple examples in my own writing because I've never really thought about this trope. But I always try to strive to make my character, if they speak away, when they do emotional moments, it's in their character vein. So I always have to put myself in my character's shoes before I can write it. So I'm probably guilty of some of it, but not all of it.
Yeah, it's a tough thing, and I get more pissed off with Aaron Sorkin because everyone in his shows or movies just tries to one up each other based on how smart they are. We ranted about it in Trial of Chicago 7, so there's no point in us
Aaron
going
Sorkin
on
for
about
me has
that.
always been hit and miss. Like I enjoyed The West Wing enough. It was a good little
West
show.
Wing's good. Newsroom is a lot better in my
I
opinion.
watched
just
the first
because
season and I enjoyed it.
Just because the performances are a hell of a lot better, but I've said this before, Sorkin has that formula where the main character is a stuck-up genius. His best friend is not as smart, but tries to one-up him by being honest. There's the manager or boss who's just like, I respect you guys, but please just shut the fuck up. And I think Moneyball is the only one of Aaron Sorkin's that actually negates this, which is also why I think Moneyball's his best movie.
Help me out here. I am in the minority here. Like a heavy minority. I don't like The Social Network. I don't like the characters. I don't like the story. I don't like the writing. But it's like in the best movies of the last 10 years. Like, what am I missing?
I gotta be honest, I don't even know. I wouldn't even consider it one of David Fincher's best movies. It's obviously not as bad as Alien 3 or The Game or anything like that. But yeah, it's just, was I supposed to like Mark Zuckerberg? Because I liked Eduardo the entire time. Eduardo seemed like a genuine human being. And Justin Timberlake as Sean Parker was really good at being the likable douchebag. He had a lot of energy. He loved to party. And that was what made you latch on to him, even when he was just the scum of the earth. It was really Jesse Eisenberg as Mark Zuckerberg, who I'm just going to flat out say it. Eisenberg got cast because he does look like Mark Zuckerberg. That's really about it.
I mean, I don't mind Jesse Eisenberg. Like, he's fun in Adventureland, and he's not bad in
Zombieland.
American Ultra, and Zombieland's fun. But, like, he's super weird. Like, he's sort of like, when I watched Batman v Superman, like, him playing Lex Luthor was the same thing as The Social Network for me. I'm like, oh, look, he's being weird.
He's being the Riddler, but in a Lex Luthor's body.
Yeah, I don't know, and I don't care for Jolly Ranchers. Thank you very much.
No, it just
I
love that. I love that Army of the Dead tried to repeat that with Juice from Sons of Anarchy.
Am I in the minority here for not liking Nolan or Fincher or Zuckerberg or like any of these or Nolan or any of these big directors here? Am I just like, I really genuinely want to try to like it because I do like Batman Begins a lot by Nolan, but Insomnia or Inception or any of these things, they're fine. They're fine movies. I just don't love them. And then like I was hoping for a lot more from Dunkirk, but I wanted it in order. Is that so much to ask? Is that a lot
I
to
preferred
ask?
it out of order, to be completely honest.
Yeah, but like, did he just do that to make like? Is he just fucking with me? Is he's just like
No.
Josh won't like anything I ever make? Is he just fucking with me? I don't know. I mean, Interstellar. Like, I was interested for the first half an hour, and then there was some cosmic bookshelf that Matthew McConaughey was knocking on, where they were doing really cool space special effects, and I was like, what am I missing here? What like it looks cool. It looks really cool.
Look,
I mean, I just don't. I just and Fincher for me. I've tried David Fincher. I just don't understand the man. Like I want to like Gone Girl. It just doesn't hit me. I just
oh, okay. I'm not gonna.
like
I'm not gonna press you on
I don't
that.
know. Like
I'm not. Don't worry. Look,
I'm trying to understand it. It's sort of like me.
I think the Nolan overrated thing is starting to become a little bit more of a thing. Like, type in "Confessions of a Christopher Nolan Fanboy" and you'll find some legitimate flaws that come with his filmmaking, namely how even though dude's excessive with expository dialogue, he's also really excessive with this David Lean level of scope that is really impressive, but also doesn't really serve anything. Now, don't get me wrong. If I did a small scale movie, I would still try to make it look as big as possible, but that's just me trying to show off.
But I mean, I know Memento was an interesting experiment, and I don't dislike it. I just don't dig it. I think it's interesting.
That's fine.
That's about what I can say. I think Nolan is making films where he's trying to push the envelope of technology or the way we tell a story without telling a story. That's the way I feel. Because like even The Dark Knight, like as much as like that's a cool movie, like when it came out, I was like, that's not a Batman movie. That's a Joker movie. Everyone's like, no, it's a Batman movie. I'm like, it's a Joker movie. The Batman's barely in it. And I mean, Dark Knight Rises, everyone was loving on this movie. I'm like, why do you
really?
think
I've always found people split about it.
And I mean, even Fincher for me, like I've tried a lot of David Fincher films. I just don't get it. I really don't.
See, here's the thing. I'm not a big fan of Fight Club like most people are. My favorites of his are Seven because, I mean, my God, Seven is just a great detective thriller. And same thing with The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. If Fincher kept making detective thrillers like that and Gone Girl, I would love it because, for one, dude never does handheld camera. He loves to keep it locked down. That part is incredibly awesome. I love the way he builds up suspense. He has, in my opinion, he's the closest thing to coming close to like a Hitchcock director, maybe Denis Villeneuve once in a while too, because he had Enemy, which it's really just how dark and uncompromising Fincher is and how he's able to get away with it by like navigating around the studio system. Because when he made Alien 3, he learned what decisions not to take from the executive.
I mean, I don't think they're bad directors by any means. I just don't understand their work. And
is it like the stories? Because like Fincher's not a writer. That's never been.
No, I know Fincher's not a writer, but like Nolan and Fincher's, and then Aaron Sorkin, and then the number one I don't get the Coen brothers. What is it? What do people like about them? Like I've seen The Big Lebowski a few times.
We'll talk about that after the recording.
And I just there's a lot of things I don't get about the Coen brothers, but I get they're quirky and they're supposed to be funny. And
that's exactly what it is. They're very quirky in an old school nostalgic fashion.
Lady Killers. I like the one. I think their best movie is Hail Caesar because it actually sounds like a movie and it's not just weird. I don't know. I feel like I'm in the minority here where I don't get these.
Yeah,
I feel dumb. I feel dumb. I'm supposed to be a director, but I feel dumb because I don't get these super cinema snobs movies.
One of these days, we're going to have to do an overrated directors one because, boy, can I go on about that.
I mean, I hate to say it, but Ron Howard be up there because he's so hit and miss.
Who even considers him a great director anymore?
I mean, back in the day, yeah, but now, no. I mean, minus Rush, he hasn't done anything great.
He had A Beautiful Life, and that was it.
A Beautiful Mind.
Beautiful Mind, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like he did. I don't know. Anyway, I'll come in at my number 4 with this one. Always pisses me off in movies. So there's a character in a situation. They drive up to a place. Something happens. Bad, good, medium. But they can't leave because the car won't start. What the heck? The car just started. Does did someone come along and tamper with your starter while you were inside the cabin or at the hotel or,
Well, if that
like,
did, it would make for legitimate tension.
I mean, like if someone literally came along and tampered with your car, that'd be okay. But then when the car doesn't start, there's always some imminent danger rolling towards you, a giant cement mixer, Godzilla, a building's falling on you, and it starts right in the nick of time. I hate this trope. It doesn't do anyone any good. I know you're trying to build suspension. Maybe if you wanted to do this trope right, have someone have an old junker car that doesn't start all the time. So it alternates on the starter. So they really have to try hard and have them not able to start the car like for a little bit in the movie or have trouble starting it. Then when it doesn't start during a hurricane, you're trying to drive a Sharknado or whatever, you're fine. But if it just doesn't start randomly and you have a brand new Lexus, I'm sorry, what? No, cars don't do that. It's like, I mean, oh my goodness. Who thinks this is a good idea? I mean, I especially hate it in the horror movie context when they're trying to escape and their car won't start. Like, genuinely, if you are a killer, I don't know, take their car keys so they can't even get in the car or something, take their car keys and like, I don't know, put like sugar on their gas tank or something, if that's a thing that works. I don't know, but do something so when their car won't start and they genuinely have to hotwire it or do it, there's a reason why it won't start. And no one says that you have to have a blatant scene of someone tampering with your car. But imagine this, if you're in a cabin and the killer is going to get you, but he doesn't want you to get away in the car, and they're discussing or playing, let's say it's Tuck and Dale versus Evil, and their car, there's a serial killer there for real, and it's not just teenagers being dumb. And they're playing Monopoly, and in the background, you see a dark, shadowy figure tampering with the car that you never addressed, but it's there. That would work. And then your car doesn't start and you're like, oh, because that guy in that last scene tampered with their car. Yeah, that makes sense.
Same thing with random acts of violence. I'm pretty sure that was like the first big kill where the group of three, their car stops like right in the middle of the road and the killer just happens to be there.
Yeah. Like there's a lot of things like that. But just seriously, if your car started before, it's probably going to start again. If it's out of gas, it's out of gas. Show a low gas tank. If your starter doesn't work, have the car not starting throughout. Pull a Karate Kid and have to push your station wagon with your mother down the hill on your first awkward date with the rich girl. Make that a thing. Yeah, and the Karate Kid. Their car doesn't start very much, so they have to push start it, and they have to get it going before it'll start. So when they pull up to the house, they wave, and then the car won't start, so they have to push it down the hill and then go. Then they go to the fun and stuff, and they say young hearts beat better, but yeah, no, that trope, it's easy to explain, and it's just like, come on, why?
There's also an extra cliche that goes on with that, and it's become a recent thing now that people have cell phones and actually have a way to communicate should their car break down. Until, guess what, they have conveniently no cell service.
Oh yeah,
give me a fucking break. Like, when the hell does that ever happen?
I haven't even seen it in
Kim. There is literally a Kim Possible episode where even that happens, and I just sat there and I went,
wouldn't she have constant cell service when they provide that for her? Like, that'd be a
and
thing.
Weirdly enough, her special communicator, that also craps on her too. Yeah, exactly. Try wrap your head around that.
Like, you can use this trope in like murder mystery TV shows, like before, like because the killer would disable the stove or whatever. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But yeah, no. What's your next cliche, Tyler?
Okay, my number 3 is the only filmmaking cliche I have on here because it really is just that fucking frustrating. When you were talking about what was so great about the Crazy 88 fight in Kill Bill, and I said they kept the camera still, that is exactly what we are talking about. Out of all the filmmaking cliches in the world, shaky cam has got to be the most common and the most pointless out of all of them. Now, for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, here's a really quick example. When two characters are punching and kicking the shit out of each other,
I like that.
They do this.
Or when they're sitting at a computer and they're like, did you see the numbers? We made $5.
Now, to some filmmakers' defense, once in a while, shaky cam can work. Every
It
time
works
I
for
review
one
a movie,
franchise. One franchise.
well, there's a couple, but I'll get into that. Every time I review a movie I like that has it, and I talk about how positively they incorporated it, I always feel the need to point out that the director makes the wise choice of filming the actual fight choreography in a wide shot so that you can tell it really is the actors doing their own stunts, and the camera work is just making everything feel more spontaneous than it supposedly would being locked down on a tripod. I don't legitimately believe that, but I can understand why someone else would. And then in order to emphasize the weight of a punch or a kick, that's when they cut to a close-up. That's the only time they really use it. I've seen Jason Bourne movies do that. You knew I was going to say that. I've seen a couple Fast and Furious movies did that, because Fast and Furious 6 and Fate of the Furious had a little bit of shaky cam, but it was kept down to a minimum as best as possible. And also with the Russo brothers, they did that with The Winter Soldier, that really awesome fight in the street with Cap and Bucky. That utilized the exact same techniques I just mentioned, and that's why it worked. And that's why the fight between Thanos, Cap, and Ford near the end of Endgame, that was why that fight worked. It really is just the Michael Bay, Olivia Megaton, Gary Ross, Rob Cohen, insert name here style, where it's just done in such a fucking sloppy way where you wonder if the cameraman had carpal tunnel syndrome, or I don't want to say Parkinson's, because that's just too far for me personally, but I mean, it's just done in such a bad way where you can't tell where a person is getting punched. You can't even tell who's punching who. So you can't even get excited for a fight where you don't even understand what the fuck's going on. You got to love when that happens, right?
They often use this technique when the actors can't pull off a stunt. So
which brings me to my next point. I understand that action sequences are some of, if not the hardest things to film in all of cinema. There are some actors who can't learn their stunts in that quick of a time. There are some actors who know good and how well that there is an inherent amount of risk, and they don't feel comfortable taking that chance. There are some filmmakers who don't want to put someone else's safety above all else, and I get that. There are some studio execs who don't want actors to do certain stunts because of insurance and liability issues.
Then you hire a stuntman.
That whether they be legitimate or illegitimate, they don't want to get wrapped up in. I understand how explicitly clear how time-consuming and frustrating it is to put together a fight scene, and that's just from a safety perspective. It takes months to train actors to do choreography. It takes months to decide how much money they're able to spend based on the creativity of the action, but it's the hard work. It's the effort that makes action movies so fucking exhilarating. And if you don't want to put in the effort, or you're genuinely afraid that you're going to fuck things up,
make a drama.
Just don't do it. Like, don't hire actors who don't want to learn the fight choreography or aren't even learning fast enough. Hire actors who are willing to, regardless of whether they have acting talent or not. Don't hire actors who, if they fuck up the next fight and you for whatever reason aren't going to take enough time to let them learn, don't change the camera angle every time they hit someone, because that's the other thing. People tend to associate shaky cam with quick fire, rapid cut editing, where as soon as someone hits someone or lands a blow, they change the camera angle to supposedly give the fight some energy, almost like it's a music video, when the simple fact of the reality is, when you change camera angles, you really are just letting people know that the actors don't really know how to fight. I mean, Liam Neeson is an old man, but he's in good enough shape to hop a fence without using 13 camera angles in 6 fucking seconds. I mean, Olivia Megaton, you are a lazy bastard. You are totally in filmmaking just for money. I have no idea what you did beforehand, but man, oh man, you really fucking suck.
I would also like to mention that Taken 3 is a blatant ripoff of Harrison Ford's The Fugitive, but not a good one.
Yeah, everyone knows that.
But like, it's just not good.
No, it's not good. I mean, yeah, I think I've covered everything. Just lock the camera down. The only reason shaky cam didn't exist in the 70s, 80s, or whatever is because nobody could put the camera on their shoulder. It really was that heavy. So they really didn't have that much of a choice. But to me, that's just a classic example of how the limitations of a filmmaker can really work to your advantage.
I do think it was used to its advantage in Blair Witch.
That's true.
Because
Yeah.
that was meant to be like a found footage thing, and maybe a bit in the first Cloverfield at certain points. But
I would agree
it was
with
sparingly in Cloverfield, sparingly. It was just to show certain perspectives.
because like when you look at any other Matt Reeves movie, he actually uses a tripod.
Matt Reeves is really one of his underrated trilogy of the Apes films are great.
Well, I mean, he did the last two. The first one was some other guy, but you might as well give the trilogy to him because the success of it really rided on him.
But yeah, I do think that shaky cam can be used effectively. If you look at the very first Jason Bourne movie, this is the finest example of shaky cam. I think this is one of the first where they started really doing it.
See, that's heavily. The thing. I wouldn't even really call Bourne Identity shaky cam. I would call it quick cut editing, but
yes, but they
very
did
locked
use
down.
shaky
It was
cam.
really when Paul Greengrass
yeah
came in and took everything off.
But I think they used enough shaky cam in the first Bourne movie that the action sequences felt moved and motivated by the camera moving, but then everything else was still. So when you got to the action, you were more excited. And I think the first three Bourne movies use these all accent really well. The first one being excellent. I do think the fifth one, the way they use shaky cam for that tank chase was awesome. That was awesome.
Did and I gotta be honest,
I like where they
the
were sitting at a
scenes.
computer. No, but the tank chase, perfect.
I gotta be honest, I like the other action scenes in the fifth one. The fourth one, I don't even really know what happened in the fourth one. It was from the guy who did the reshoots for Rogue One, and you can really tell because
I mean, I don't mind the fourth one. I when we went back when we did our series on the Bourne films, and we were talking about the Bourne films there.
Did we ever put that up on YouTube? Because I can't find that anywhere.
Oh, well, we did something with the Bourne movies, and I know it was
we did. Yeah, it was.
I don't know what it
before...
is, but we did something about it. And I went back and watched the fourth one, and Oscar Isaac was charming in it for the little role he had. And basically, they're just trying to wipe out anyone else who's connected to the program. Jeremy Renner does a really good job. It's a fun little movie. It's very enjoyable. I honestly forgot about it, but now I don't want to forget about it because it's a very well done film.
Well, I mean, it's decent, but I wouldn't really even call it that much of a Bourne movie just because it feels so disconnected from everything else.
That's fair. I will throw a cliche at you for my number 3 is the no stakes cliche. The film, and this happens in Marvel movies, this happens in family films, this happens in any film where the genre is predictable and plays into what is happening, and you know what is happening can't possibly happen. For example, you know that the airplane's going to fly over the mountain. You know that the family can't die. You know that they're going to adopt the kid. You know that the hero isn't dead and they're going to come back. Or you know that the person's just down for the count and they'll be up in a minute and then they'll kick some more ass, you know? There's that. And I'll start with the family movie. Specifically, I think a good dog movie is great. I do enjoy the first Air Bud movie. I watched it as a kid. I think the first Air Bud.
Yeah, you know what? Air Bud, I like.
But you know that in this, or say, Remember the Titans, or any of these sports films, you know that the team is going to lose. And you know that they're going to put them in the worst possible situation. Well, but they're always going to come back and win.
I didn't know that about Remember the Titans because I first saw it in middle school and I hadn't really been that versed in cliches. I also didn't know that certain students were not going to be allowed into the college restaurant until they did, because that was revolutionary for us at that point in time when we watched it.
I think we watched. And then there's the Marvel cliche where you know that the heroes are never going to die because it's a comic book. So you know while watching Captain America Civil War, as cool as that fight is, and there's giant Ant-Man and everyone's going at it. You know that when Rhodey falls from the sky, he's going to be just fine, and they'll show him walking there at the end. Or you know really that predictable when Buck goes down for, and they want to kill Bucky because he did the whole murder Iron Man's parents thing. You know they're not going to kill him because he's in the Marvel universe. You know that Black Panther's not going to kill Killmonger because he's got to be the good guy. You know that people can't die in that universe, so there are no stakes. You know that Air Bud is going to get that goal, so there are no stakes. There's no suspense of disbelief. And again, you can extend the same thing to Stuart Little, where he's in Stuart Little 2, where he's being chased by Kitty Hawk. And they're driving down the road, and Kitty Hawk picks him up. And you know that Kitty Hawk's not going to eat him because he's the main character. We like Stuart Little. It's a kid's movie. There is this suspension of disbelief that doesn't exist. And I think that going to the movies and having that ability, knowing your characters could die, this could happen, is what makes a movie exciting for me. So taking away that disbelief, following a formula so close to it without breaking the formula or trying anything new, creates a boring film at points. Some of these sequences can be exciting, and when you're a kid, you don't know. And that's why they use a lot of these tropes in kids' movies, where you think the hero could die, or they show the sadness, or yada yada, or like the whole island's going to be overrun, but then they're okay, sort of thing. And as a kid, I think it works. But as an adult, I think we need to be subverting tropes. We need to be like, okay, you know what? Let's maybe put this character in danger and let's kill them, Or maybe we don't put them, or put them in a danger that logically they could escape from. Do something to get that, so it's exciting. But they don't put the character in death's way. They put the character in a cool, exciting action sequence, but they're not going to die because we know you're not going to kill them because you want money. That's just how it is. I just don't want them to and I think that kids' movies are the biggest offenders, but because they're for kids, kids don't understand. So there is a little benefit of the doubt. But Marvel movies, kids know that the heroes never die. So don't put the heroes in danger. Give them really cool action sequences, make them superhuman, and make them basically invulnerable to everything. So it's just really cool and enjoyable to watch. So I don't have to be pissed off when they're like, oh no, they're dead. No, they're not. Subvert expectation or do something different.
Well, here's the thing. If you're going to do a no-stakes story, you got to come up with a stylistic way of making it still feel very exciting. Like when you thought of that, and I thought of the first thing I think of in a scenario where the main character is not going to die, going back to Disney's Tarzan, is when he takes on the cheetah. He's going to kill him, but it's still the best scene in the movie because they take every advantage they can with the action to do something cool and incredibly exciting. And they also do some really cool angles where he's trapped under the trees and the cheetah's just clawing at him. That stuff's really exciting because they did something different stylistically. There are so many kids movies though where it's just very bland and generic that it's almost as if they're not even trying. And because it's for kids, supposedly it's like they don't even have to try, even though there are parents in the theaters too. And there are adults who go voluntarily to see this because we grew up loving this stuff as kids. We still love it now. You could respect us too.
If you're making a kids movie, you should 100% try, but no. I mean, in Tarzan they do cool shots and they cut around and it's a kids movie. They know they're not going to die, but they try to make it a stylistic choice. They try to make a unique sequence that you can be excited about where the hero's not going to die.
And 25 years later, I still am.
You have to try to do something stylistically, or you have to just throw the expectation away and do something different.
Yeah.
You have to just don't do what people expect of you. That's what I'm asking. And then,
or at least you can be self-aware of it, like you said. Just do the cool action sequences.
Yeah, 100%. Like
really, just about the creativity, not about what's really at stake.
This is why parody.
You should still try to be at stake.
Because this is where our airplane comes from. Because there's so many cliches on movies about airplanes back in the day that they made an entire movie making fun of airplanes because everything was so predictable, and that's what they did on airplanes. And they did the same with everything from superhero movie to Naked Gun to scary movie to a haunted house. That's a bad movie, but there's so many cliches. You can make parodies about it. Make it so your movies can't be parody with cliches. Your movie can still be parody, but not because you followed everyone else's expectations.
Well, it'll get parodied because we need a pop culture reference that someone can identify so that you don't get bored by it.
Well, that's true. But just if your characters can't die, make your things exciting or subvert your expectations somehow. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, totally.
I want good filmmaking. I don't want cliches.
Yeah, we all do. I think.
I think so.
I hope so anyways.
Except for maybe my friend Ben, because I don't know if he wants good filmmaking or not. I can't tell. He owns the Emoji Movie, so I question everything. And he thought Angry Birds 2 was good. So.
Good night, everybody.
I love Ben, but this just boggles my brain. What do you got at your number 2 here?
My number 2 is one of the 2 biggest reasons that I cannot stand romantic comedies.
Ooh.
And also the main reason I find them unbelievably far-fetched in a way that's not even entertaining. they tend to start off with the romantic couple that, like you said before, we know good and hell well that they're going to get together, but it's just like, oh my goodness, they hate each other so much. Are they gonna fall in love either way? It's just like, yes, god damn it, they're on the poster.
they're gonna fall in love.
Think? But anyways, when the couple starts off hating each other, or one hates the other, which I find a little more authentic personally, they eventually find common ground about something that leads them to their relationship, which I like. That part feels authentic enough. But when the couple is about to reach their peak moment of romance and chemistry, all of a sudden there's a moment where one character is saying or doing something while the other character is behind a wall or so far away that they don't understand the context of what this person's doing. And of course, by accident, they happen to hear or see their romantic lead say or do something that makes them wonder if their love was real to begin with, or even if it was all a joke, like in Rock of Ages, where Diego Boneta sees Julianne Hough walk out of Tom Cruise's dressing room in a supposedly promiscuous way. And when I saw that scene, I just sat there and I went, oh, come on. You guys had something good for once. But no, he instantly thinks that she's a slut. And that's what leads to the midway breakup, because whenever the couple has a confrontation about the misunderstanding, they don't talk. They talk over each other so that they don't reconcile too soon, because, you know, that's the real problem, not the fact that these two are fucking idiots who don't respect each other enough to actually listen to one another, even though they were in love to begin with. And my God, you want to punch them in the crotch so much. But yeah,
what you have here is something that every sitcom relies on. If they just had a conversation, it would be solved.
Yes, it would. But no, we have to break up. We have to have both of them go separate ways. We have to have a sad movie montage where literally everything in sight reminds them of their breakup. And of course, it's their romantic best friend that gives them the advice and has a much more superior life than them, which fuck that cliche too. That reminds them, oh yeah, this is the epiphany I needed. That relationship was legitimately genuine, but we have to rush together because there's some fucking time limit or whatever, like Wedding Crashers, where I guess Rachel McAdams was supposed to marry Bradley Cooper, but she was falling in love with Owen Wilson. So it's those stupid time limits like that. Or in Wayne's World 2, where Cassandra almost marries Christopher Walken for some reason. That part I never understood. Or The Fucking Graduate between Dustin Hoffman and Anne Bancroft, where there's that rush where they just burst right in and say, I love you. Or even in Shrek, which I'll cover Shrek later on eventually. But it's 5 minutes of them just saying, hey, I know we screwed up big, but let's be honest. This moment happened and that moment happened. Our relationship was legitimately genuine. And weirdly enough, it's the person who was misunderstood that has to be convinced of this. How does that make sense?
It does.
Is this really supposed to be for romantic tension? Because I described half of romantic comedies in existence. There's no tension. We know what's going to happen. I mean, can you imagine if when in Shrek, when Fiona says, who could love a hideous, ugly beast, describing herself, all Shrek has to do, instead of running away and dropping the flowers, all he has to do is barge in the door and say, what did you call me? And then look at her as an ogre and go, oh, okay, never mind.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They reconcile, they fall in love. They know that Lord Farquaad is going to follow them everywhere. And because Lord Farquaad knows where the swamp is, it's not like they can hide. Just barge in to the castle, have the action scene at the very end, because that's the other thing. The action scene at the end of the first Shrek was not really all that interesting. Just have that action scene, have the bit with the dragon eating Farquaad, live happily ever after as if nothing's changed. Like, seriously. How hard is that? Like, you can even shove John Lithgow in for another 5 minutes, because that's yet another thing. I love John Lithgow as Lord Farquaad, but he's barely in the first Shrek.
I mean, he does have the gingerbread men bit, which is my favorite, but
yeah, he has all those bits. He has the bad reputation fight and everything. And that part, all that stuff is great. But seriously, we know what's going to happen.
Yep.
There's only one predictable cliche storyline, and that is my number one.
I mean, to be fair, I didn't think that the dragon would eat Farquaad. I know that the dragon would come into play somehow. I thought they would just like set something on fire or something, but eating Farquaad was funny.
I was like 5 years old, and that was the first time I saw someone get eaten alive in a kid's show that didn't scare the crap out of me.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, but no, I understand how that would frustrate you. That's every rom-com ever.
Yeah, which okay, someone told me that you like rom-coms. What's the excuse here, really?
Okay, I like rom-coms that are cute because they're comforting and calming. It doesn't mean they're good. I enjoyed Rebel Wilson's Isn't It Romantic because it does play on the tropes of rom-coms.
Yeah,
And
but
the way
doesn't
they
it
use
follow
that.
them half the time too?
Yeah, it follows and breaks them. I really do enjoy 13 Going on 30. I think that's a fun little
Okay,
story.
yeah, that one's
She grows up, Mark Ruffalo's in it. It's great. Jennifer Gardner is meh, but Mark Ruffalo's super awesome. And I like the storytelling.
I could actually stand Jennifer Gardner for once because the movie's all about her learning not to be a bitch.
Yeah, and I do really like Made in Manhattan, as cheesy as that is. It's basically Cinderella with Ralph Fiennes and J-Lo. That one is always.
I can't believe John Hughes wrote that.
I think it's adorable. Is it great? No, but I think it's adorable. They're guilty pleasures at this point. There's a lot of other rom-coms off the top. What's another one off the top of my head? Oh my goodness. Mickey Blue Eyes, I really like. That one's got some really funny moments. Hugh Grant is really, I like Notting Hill, Sue Me. I think it's cute.
I don't know that one.
It's basically Meet Me in St. Louis about two people who fall in love at a bookstore.
See, funny thing, my sister and I last year when theaters reopened for a bit, we had our moment where we were the only ones in the theater. I had Empty Man, and I was really proud of that because for one, not enough people saw it, and it doesn't even have a Blu-ray release. And I didn't know that until Chris Stuckman talked about it in his video. But yeah,
They put everything on Blu-ray.
It makes no sense, but my sister had Broken Hearts Gallery with the kid from Power Rangers and Stranger Things or whatever.
Seen that. Is it any good?
She seemed to like it just fine, and I figured that might be a guilty pleasure on your type of level. But
like, I mean, what's the last great rom-com I think I saw? I like Neighbors 2. I would consider that a rom-com because it's about this couple. I think that's really cute, and they fall in love in the first one.
Yeah, you know what?
Instant Family was adorable about this couple who adopted kids, and it was all about like a family dynamic. It was really
Instant
cute.
Family was good. I wouldn't really call it romantic. Well, here's the thing. I get why anyone would say it romantic because like they're maturing as they're giving these kids a place, but I kind of saw it more as a family comedy.
I mean, I think the best rom-com ever though might be Grindhouse.
Which
the movie?
one?
Oh my goodness, Death Proof. Not Death Proof. The other one. What's that one called?
Planet Terror, really?
Planet Terror at its core is basically this woman who's in love with her boyfriend who's trying to save him. And when she loses her leg and he finds her and they murder zombies, it's romantic.
Oh, those two were a thing before that?
Yeah, they were.
Oh, okay.
And I think it's a freaking awesome zombie movie, but at its core, it is a romantic plot.
See, here's the thing. I don't mind Planet Terror. It's
awesome.
By all accounts, technically better than Death Proof. Because Death Proof has the last 20 minutes, and that's really all it had.
I think that Death Proof should have been better because it has Kurt Russell, but it's just one of those. But I like rom-coms. I think they're cute. I mean, me and Heather enjoyed Trainwreck, and we even didn't mind I Feel Pretty, which I think that's it was cute at moments. I think it was weird, and a lot of the jokes didn't hit, but it had a really cute core, So like, my wife hates rom-coms, but I like them.
It's Amy Fisher acting like she's Rebel Wilson, Melissa McCarthy big when she's really not. She's not even close. It's like Lena Dunham calling herself fat. It's not true.
I don't know. It had a charming bit there. And I mean, I will say that Bad Teacher is great. I like the comedy in that one. I like Jason Segel and Cameron Diaz falling in love. I like rom-coms. What can I say?
Wait, isn't that Sex Tape?
No. This is the one where she plays a teacher. And Jason
I'm just
Segel
saying they were like
yeah.
in Sex Tape, which was basically a 90-minute iPad commercial.
Yes, but that's different. But yeah, there's just a lot of rom-coms I do enjoy. I do not like The Notebook. I just want to put that out there, and I do not like Titanic. Because the reason why I like rom-coms, Tyler, is because a lot of 40s and 50s dramas or romantic comedies are just two people falling in love, and there's some quirky things that happen, but they're nothing crazy.
And if they were more...
And for me, I like older films, so they reflect the older films I like.
Yeah, and having watched City Lights for the silent film one, it did occur to me that older movies didn't exactly follow these cliches. They had little hints, but those hints were just escalated as the years went by for whatever.
And a lot of
reason.
these older films, like they'll do like something like My Favorite Brunette or whatever, where they do the sort of cliche where they don't know if they should be together because different walks of life. They'll do that cliche. They'll do the cliche where the I'm from a rich family, you're from a poor family sort of thing, or your guy's been accused of a crime falsely, so I can't fall in love with you, but I'm going to do it anyway. And there's a lot of those types of things from the 40s, 50s, and 60s. And then there's like my favorite rom-com of all time is Ninotchka about it's just a great film. If you haven't seen it with Greta Garbo, I highly recommend it. It's funny, it's quirky, it's romantic. It's got one of the funniest scenes literally in the history of the world with that hat. That hat is so funny.
Okay.
But yeah, I like rom-coms. I know they're cliched, but they're just like them. What can I say? They're comforting.
All right then.
Yeah, I will come in at number 2. With this cliche. I when I watch a movie, I want my characters to be fully developed. I want to see a plot from point A, point B to point C. It does its thing. It's cool. Maybe we have a few side plots in there. The characters are well fleshed out, but there's one thing that always keeps this from happening: the MacGuffin. The MacGuffin, the item that drives the plot as opposed to the characters. I will give you examples of a MacGuffin, Tyler. The treasure in National Treasure. The cubes or those whatever space rocks they're looking for in the Marvel
Infinity
movies.
Stones.
The Infinities, that's it. Pretty much any item that is more important than the characters is there, and everyone has to do things based upon to find this item, not because it makes sense for their character. There has been a good balance of it. I will say that the first National Treasure does balance its characters and its character moments a lot better than it should. Same with the first Pirates of the Caribbean, and that franchise will balance its characters and characters moments better. And a lot of Marvel movies do this well too. But I particularly think that Thor, the first Thor movie, just exists so they can tell you about cubes from space. Literally, there's a few, like, there's Thor. He's doing things. Oh no, Infinity Stone. And then, that's sort of the movie. And, a bunch of the Marvel movies started to play into this, like a really lot at the beginning. And how much do you know about Thor after that first movie? He likes coffee. He has a fancy hammer and he's got muscles. That's what we know about our character, all because we're focusing on Infinity Stones. And that's what happens with a lot of these movies. But then you have the opposite, where Ant-Man is a completely character-driven piece, and you learn about Ant-Man's family and his life and his friends, and the mission happens to be there because he has to go, and he drives the plot. That's what I like. But if the plot is driven by some sort of random item, it works well with Jumanji, but because that movie is all about pointing out cliches in film, they're all trying to get the Jumanji Jaguar thing there by playing this video game. They're stuck in a video game. They're making fun of the video game cliches by having the NPCs and their abilities and such. But that's more of a spoof on the genre with that. But any item in a film that is more important than the characters should not be there. The characters should drive the plot. The characters should, the end is they have to get to the waterfall, but they start at the house. If the item is driving them to leave, that shouldn't be the case. They should be going there because they need to go there, or they're going there on vacation and they happen to find the item and they decide to go on that. But it's because the family seeks adventure, because the family wants to do this, not because they need to for the sake of the movie. There's a fine balance between what items you can have in a movie that will drive your plot to, it doesn't make a lot of sense, to this item is here and it's a piece of the story, but the family is doing something to motivate it. And I think this is most exemplified with a lot of sitcom writing, where they do parallel stories with multiple characters. And this is what you have to do with any MacGuffin. There's an objective they have to achieve in the episode, but there's also another story where they're like, you know what? Oh, we don't get along, but we should. And let's have a heart-to-heart and realize we respect each other, sort of thing. But both those stories intertwine. The respect relates to the item. So when they go through it, they're telling two stories, but it all relates to this item, which is a symbol of what they're trying to tell. And that's what they want to do. And that works really well, or it works really, really, really bad. And again, you can subvert it or do a parody on it with your Jumanji levels. But sometimes you just, like, for me, the second half of the Avengers was a really awesome time. But the first half of the Avengers was all like, get the cube, get the cube, get the cube, get the cube. The cube was driving the plot until we get to see the characters in action. And the cube is meant to represent disarray. It's meant to represent confusion. But all they did was show the cube and the cube and the cube. I would rather have not shown the item until second halfway through for the Infinity Stone, and not have that there at all until halfway through, and have the characters arguing with each other regardless because they don't get along as a team. But then when they find this cube, we realize what it all represents. They fight over it and they unify. That's a stronger movie there. You literally just has to take out the damn blue cube in that movie, you know, like just until the end, until Loki puts it in a stick. It could be just sitting in the background. You don't even have to focus on it. And in National Treasure, it works pretty good. But National Treasure 2, they really focus too much on finding the treasure and kidnapping the president, and all these fantastical events are all driving towards finding treasure as opposed to building character development. Because in the first movie, you got Benji and you got Nicolas Cage and the person that he eventually marries for number 2. And they all have strong character traits, and they're all on the mission for different reasons. And the treasure is representative of all their collective things with this wide variety of disarray when we eventually get to see the treasure, as well as Sean Bean. He wants it for selfish reasons. He wants it for this. And they all are, and the father doesn't believe it exists. And you have these very strong character traits coming together. And in the background, you're like, this treasure is a backdrop to their disarray, to their quest for knowledge, to find who they are. Then the second one is just like, yeah, where's the treasure? And I'm going to say this, and then I'm going to wrap my thoughts on this. If you have an item that is more important than your characters, don't.
Spoiler warning for everybody. Sean Bean does not die in National Treasure.
No, which is very strange. Or Silent Hill. He doesn't die in that series ever. He makes it through like 2 movies. It's weird.
I thought he did.
No, he's in the second one.
He could have just been a ghost or something for all I know.
Regardless, Sean Bean does die a lot. But yeah, no.
Then again, he didn't die in Pixels, but if you've seen Pixels, I bet he wished he did.
I didn't mind Pixels, but I didn't like it. It exists. That's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, it wasn't as bad as people made it out to be, but it still sucks.
It's got some fun moments, but you have to wait a long time to get Pac-Man to go through the city.
Yep.
And Kevin James is the president. I don't know what's more unrealistic than anything in life. Besides that,
keep in mind the past 2 presidents we've had that America has. Why did I say we? Seriously,
we're not. I'm half American, but I don't know. Are you?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
I just
that's the classic Canadian thing to do. Just live in America's shadow and fucking accept it.
None of us accepted Trump, so that's where we at.
Well, someone did.
Well, okay. But yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean.
But yeah, no, I just think your character should drive the plot. That's
no. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I had nothing to add to that, so it doesn't matter.
Because I think some of the Avengers movies did it well, and some of them were just like, no, fancy stones, Like Guardians did it well, how the stone was part of a central plot, but then, like first half of Avengers didn't do it well, or Thor, but the first Captain America sort of flirted with the idea, but didn't quite nail it because they were trying to tell 2 separate stories, but I still love it. You got to be really careful how you write items like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Number 1.
So there's only one cliche that I can't stand any less than the romantic misunderstanding. And it's what, again, Doug Walker has coined as the liar revealed. One that, as he described it, I realized I hated it with a passion as a kid, and I still hate it now. Now, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about here, there are plenty of movies and shows, especially ones that are geared towards families, where a character decides to become friends with a person or a particular group for purely selfish reasons, but pretending to do it out of natural care. And then once that person gets to spend time with this group, they themselves overcome this self-centered desire that they originally had, and they start to become incredibly natural people, which is great because it creates a fleshed out character arc. My favorite character of all time, you can't see her based on the glare that's in the frame, and I still can't fix that on my fucking Zoom for whatever reason, but Lena Saberwing from DuckTales is a prime example of this. She befriends the McDucks for one pure reason, to steal something magical from them so that this sorceress that has basically enslaved her can become more powerful. But her friendship with Kate Micucci becomes so genuine that she eventually decides to fight back and finds a way to escape from this slavery and find a new life for herself. And it's partly because DuckTales avoided the liar reveal trope. The other characters in her life immediately recognized that because magic was involved, she technically didn't really have that much of a choice. Plus, her best friend, Micucci, legitimately believes in reaching out to enemies in order to change them and better themselves. So it actually makes sense why she was forgiven so quickly. And I just wish more movies and shows did that more often. But no, instead their friends discover the truth about them, usually because the main character's friends from the past or whatever come in and say, hey, I know you did this and that. And weren't you coming over to these guys to, I don't know, screw them over or something like that? A Bug's Life did that, where John Ratzenberg reveals that the Warriors are just circus performers, or in Over the Hedge, where Bruce Willis runs off with all of the shit while all the other characters get kidnapped by the Exterminator and all this shit. And yeah, even though the characters have to defend themselves and say, I did this for your protection, or I know I said this before, but I have changed. And there are examples that, given the original scheme, should prove that they did that out of legitimate care and not to pretend to establish a friendship. But no, because they lied once, they must immediately never be trusted again. My God, the liar revealed.
Hey, you found North America in 2020.
Yeah, exactly. And again, much like the romantic misunderstanding, the guy just walks away really sad. There's, again, another sad montage of everything around him just reminding him of his friendship and how he completely screwed up. And, you know, Madagascar did a little bit of a switch around where Ben Stiller realizes that dude's a carnivore and technically should be eating his friends, so he runs away. Meanwhile, the other friends try their best to keep prey away from predators, and they end up accidentally leading them to their deaths. Like when they take the bird, run away as quickly as possible, put it in the lake, and then an alligator eats it, and they're all just like that was funny. That was subverting the expectations. But no, you gotta have them walk away real sad, and then the one person who actually understands and actually listen to him for once, the one person that hasn't given up on them, has to say, don't you believe this? Yeah. Shouldn't you help them out? Yeah. You know what? I am gonna go back, but I have to hurry because, again, there's another race against time, and
race against time is also a problem in film.
And there was another 5 minutes of them having to explain, I know I did this, but I also did this and that for you, so we're technically friends, right? And it's just like,
yeah, but here's the thing, Tyler. If they are a liar and no one ever believes them again, and they only have 20 minutes to save their friends, they just wasted 5 minutes talking about it.
Yeah, and my fucking God, rom-coms do this, family movies do this, coming of age stories, sports movies. There is no genre that this has never been done in. And I do not understand why you are going to waste our time on a no-stakes story, because that is exactly what happens here. We know they're going to have a happy ending. We know they're going to become friends again. Why are you wasting our time on the most obvious formula in the history of cinema? It is just so fucking
Despicable
ridiculous.
Me is a big offender of this. Despicable Me.
Did that even really count though? Because Russell Brand technically was responsible for that. Nobody really lied to him.
Yeah,
lie
you're
about
talking about the person who's accused of being a liar. Dr. Nefario leaves. Gru has to go without him. He realizes he's not a liar. He comes back in a nick of time, and he's fine.
Yeah, and maybe because the relationship between him and the kids was so fleshed out, I really didn't mind it all that much. It still pissed me off when it happened, but when it got to the climax and there was that whole thing where he says, I'll catch you and I'll never let go, that was a legitimately good moment. And here's the thing, if the character relationships are that strong, sometimes, and only sometimes, can I get past that. I'm still going to get pissed off. I'm still probably going to go to the bathroom during this one time, but just write the characters strongly enough and give them something that actually has dramatic tension to it.
Mm-hmm.
There's some liar reveals that don't even really make all that much sense, if I got to be honest. Like, remember in Lord of the Rings where Gollum takes the food and blames it on Sam? So Frodo just casts Sam out, and then Sam discovers the food and is just like, so I didn't take the lunch. It's just like, wait,
No, duh.
what? Like, did you like? What did you think you did? Did you like sleepwalk and eat the lunch? Like, what the fuck are you thinking, Sam? I thought you were supposed to be smart.
Yeah, no, this is a problem with films. Yeah.
God, seriously, even as kids, you know they're gonna win. You know they're gonna be heroes. I wrote this down in my notes. Even if you're 5 years old watching A Bug's Life or a 40-year-old watching The 40-Year-Old Virgin, you know it's a happy ending.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, quit wasting our time. Quit having us moping around. We don't watch movies to watch people mope around. We watch them to have fun. We watch them to escape. Stuckman said it in his Army of the Dead review. Like, movies used to be about escapism, and now they're about reminding us how much our life sucks. And even though he said Army of the Dead was supposed to be a movie that was just popcorn fun, it also reminds us of shit that is happening in real life. It seriously went for like Trump border metaphors that are so outdated that Lin-Manuel erased them from In the Heights, where there was a dreamer subplot that got removed. And if I got to be honest, that should have been removed in the first place. It wouldn't have solved anything.
Well, I mean, the liar reveal in I think the worst liar reveal of all time is Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. And I just want to go off on this because I'm a little confused.
That one's the worst.
Literally, they don't even focus on it. They just move past immediately. They're like, oh no, this isn't the real heist. I'm working for them. Okay, now back to whatever it was we were doing. Like, what's that? Why were they even doing that? That scene could have been cut.
What, where the guy takes the head and runs off?
Yeah, but like they get the head and then she's like,
that's not the stuff I don't care about that stuff.
It's just so much.
I care more about the main character like being proven as a double crosser, even though dude has so clearly redeemed himself, but no one wants to fucking listen. They again talk over each other because you can't reconcile too soon, even though actually you can, and then you can spend the rest of it like patching things up even more than you already had, having more conversations about why you did it in the first place to understand what things are going on. I said this a few minutes ago and I'm going to say it again. The liar revealed is the original cancel culture, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, my number one here, this is the number one thing I hate in films. I've always hated this in films. I've never understood why this has ever been in a film. Fuck you, exposition. We are smart. We don't need you to explain every damn thing on screen.
Hold on. Before you get into your tangents, as you know, if we already know, don't fucking explain it.
Okay, the number one rule, show, don't tell. Do not tell us. Like, I mean, one of the worst offenders of all of this is Jurassic Park, because the doctors have to explain every freaking thing about the dinosaurs. We get it. They're dinosaurs.
The worst example,
they're going to eat you.
No, the worst example is M. Night Shyamalan's The Last Airbender, where I swear to God, it's like every single sentence in that movie is exposition. Did I ever tell you about the secret library that has been buried under the earth? Get on with it. We've discovered the Avatar. He is just a young boy. If my son cannot find the Avatar in time, it will be based on you. Have I ever told you about these two koi fish that circle around in peace and harmony? And yes, we've seen the fucking show. Like 80% of the people in the theater have already seen the show.
I mean, it doesn't really appeal to a wider audience, but exposition in films. This is something where people explain everything. And this leads to there's a few Bond villains. They literally are like, haha, Mr. Bond, I will destroy the world with a laser and a satellite, and then you'll be eaten by sharks, and you will never escape. And then he escapes and he knows exactly what to do.
Until next time, Batman.
or the scientist, or the supervillain overly explaining his plot, or literally anybody. Literally, you don't need to explain it. Show it to us. You're actors, not politicians.
When you said the explain the evil plan thing, you reminded me of Age of Ultron, where Iron Man's just like, what's the vibranium for? I'm glad you asked me that because I wanted to take the time to explain my evil plan.
Yeah, pretty much.
That part was funny.
But I mean, I'm just so mad at exposition. Like, how dumb do they think we are? Like,
that's a real good question.
We, as movie viewers, get it. Things happen in movies. If you don't pay attention, you won't understand what's happening. If you watch the movie, you should understand what's happening.
And it's worse
Very
in kids'
simple.
movies. I mean, Tom and Jerry literally has 3 pigeons or whatever in New York City that literally like either wrap or sum up the scene that we literally just saw beforehand.
Yeah. And Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, that terrible Netflix movie explains everything
Devil all the time. Before the Devil Knows You Dead is the Sidney Lumet movie. That's actually good.
Oh, okay. The Devil all the time.
At least I think it is.
But no, I think if you're going to make a film, don't explain anything. If you have the urge or the desire to explain something, make a freaking documentary. That's literally what those are for. You can narrate and talk about everything.
Take notes, Scorsese. That's what you should have done with The Irishman. Make it a miniseries so that you could show everything. Not have Robert De Niro narrate everything in as boring of a fashion as you could possibly get. Or better yet, don't narrate things before they actually happen. Don't drop a gun in the water and say, there's enough guns to make an entire army in South Africa. Before you fucking even show the guns in the water. I mean, are you fucking kidding me? It's just
there is example.
Or in that exact scene, or in the other scene where Ray Romano is like being a defense lawyer. And even though you don't understand what he's saying, De Niro goes, I don't know how he did it, but he got me out of jail. And it's just like, no fucking shit. That is exactly what every Scorsese movie, crime movie does this. They have narration point out things that we are looking at right in front of our eyes or completely spoil the big moments, kind of like the narrator in The Devil All the Time, which is weird because the narrator from Devil All the Time is the guy who wrote the fucking novel and he didn't even write the script. Seriously, how much sense does that even make?
But
did I mention I like blue Jello?
What type of Jello?
That was your call. That was your joke in our review where you was like, okay, our character is here. Now he's about to go all the way to point B. Oh, by the way, there's this serial killer couple that are across the road. Did I mention I like blue Jello?
Yes, I thought you said loose Jello.
No, that doesn't even make sense. Oh. You know what? I keep hijacking. You're number one. Keep going.
This leads me to, and I would like to read a transcript. This leads me to movie theater viewers because a lot of cliches are just dumb and on screen and I can escape them. But you know what happens when you explain something on the screen? People feel they have the right to explain it to the person beside them when it's just been bloody explained to them in the movie they were watching. And the person,
or worse. The people in the audience will still ask the questions to the person sitting next to him. It's just like, why did he do that?
They just explained it.
Mad at her?
They literally just explained it.
Let's watch and find out. Or maybe, turn up your fucking hearing aid.
Yeah, no, it's like, they're like, people talk during movies, but I don't mind if they gasp or go, oh, that's really cool. Or they're like, oh man, I love that.
No.
You know? But like the people that are the worst in the movie theater are asking the questions after it's been explained to them. If someone just said they're the bad guy, wait, are they the bad guy? The person that was literally someone said that in a movie theater. And they're like, they're the bad guy? And I'm like, duh, I turned around and I'm like, yeah, they just explained it. Shut up. Don't talk. And as the Aqua Teen...
Can someone do a
Kickstarter movie says, if you haven't seen the movie, shut up. If this is a sequel or haven't seen the TV show, why are you here?
Better yet, have Bill Burr do a PSA that is like that. That would be amazing.
Well, no, seriously. No.
Okay,
so this is where it happens. You go to a movie in a franchise, no matter what franchise it is, whether it's Lord of the Rings or Star Wars or Marvels or Hunger Games, you name it. Hunger Games is the worst offender of these. People do not know what they're talking about. People are just jumping on the bandwagon and seeing these movies. And you go to these movies and people are like, oh, who's that? What are they doing? You haven't seen the first 2 movies. Don't be in the fucking theater. Go watch the other movies. It's real easy. And then you won't have freaking questions. And I won't be sitting there drinking my orange vitamin water, pissed off at you while Lenny Kravitz is trying to give me fashion advice, okay? I just don't want that.
In the words of Justin Trudeau, go home and stay home, bitch.
Yeah. No. If you are in a Marvel movie, and this is why if you are in a Marvel movie and they show you a flashback of all the clips and you see it and you have a general idea that guy's the hero, do not be like, oh, that's the hero, right? No, we get it. Shut up. You don't need to say it out loud. It'd be like me and McDonald's. So this food's going to give me the shits, right? Yeah, I don't need to reply to that, and I don't need to say it out loud. If I'm there, I chose to eat it. If I'm there, I chose to see the movie, so shut your fucking mouth before I cut out your tongue, because that's what I want to do to most movie viewers.
Oh, no, you have absolutely no choice, because didn't you hear they put very addictive stuff in the popcorn and the soda and the candy and everything else?
Yeah, then your mouth should be dry and swelled from all the salt so you can't speak.
Yeah, exactly.
No, like they explain it to you. The one thing I think was just mind-boggling. What was it? I was watching Sherlock with someone back in college, just sitting there watching an episode of Sherlock. And we watch it, and the person explains the entire case. And she turns to me, and there's three of us on the couch watching this after we finish podcast.
Oh, no.
And she's like, so does that mean they did this and this? And I'm like, no, no shit, Sherlock. They just explained it. And I'm just like, and she's like, why are you so mad? I'm like, watch the show. I'm like, if you have to explain it twice, it's like if I said to you a joke, I'll be like, oh, remember that thing I did? Punchline. And I have to explain the joke. It's no longer a joke. If you don't understand the movie, shut up. That's all I'm saying. And exposition leads to people talking during movies. And that's what I hate the most about movies. So.
And for that matter, so did I. I did this list completely wrong.
I just did with things that pissed me off because, it's to all the viewers out there, I do elevate my personality to be a little more humorous. But this time I am genuinely pissed off today.
Well, for that matter, so did
angry. I'm genuinely angry at expositions, MacGuffins, and the people that won't die. Like, the car won't start. I just sort of exaggerated that one. That was just fun. But no, like, genuinely.
See, the only reason I didn't think of exposition was just because every movie has it. And sometimes you do need it. Because that's the thing. As much as we hate to admit it, you can't show everything. And that part is annoying, especially if you're coming up with stuff. Because I got to be completely honest. I have an entire idea for a movie that, in my opinion, I can make without talking. Maybe instead of title cards, I can do like thought bubbles.
Yeah, done.
Seriously, what movie has ever done that? That would be fucking amazing.
Maybe a silent film, but not with thought bubbles. More like
it would be a brand new thing. Like instead of mumblecore, it could be like silent core or something.
What is
like
mumblecore?
That's the like low budget. That's the like $10,000 indie movies that are all about talking. Where it's more important than. Kind of like Drinking Buddies or any of the Duplass brothers.
Okay, I have to look this up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, but like I will tell you that
like Greta Gerwig, like back when she was an actress.
Okay. I watched Frances Ha Ha. Is it Frances Ha or Frances Ha Ha?
It's Frances Ha.
I watched
stuff like that, like reminiscent of Noah Baumbach, but with much less money.
Not a bad little flick. It was quirky.
Yeah, exactly. But
all I know is here's the deal, people. I work at a theater. If you come to my theater and you talk in my theater, one, I will tell you to shut up. If you take out your cell phone, I will tell you to put it away. If someone complains about you, I will talk to you. I
would know. I've had him do it.
If you cease and desist and keep doing all this nonsense, I will eat loudly in your ear directly beside you until you tell me to shut up, and then I'll walk away and say, don't talk during the movie.
I'm gonna have to try that. I'm gonna have to try that in the summer.
I would just chew as loudly as possible beside the person next to me. They get super irritated and they're like, why are you doing that? I'm like, why are you talking in the movie? Don't. You talk one more time, you leave my theater. That's the dealio. We don't need exposition. We don't need you talking. You came to shut up for an hour and a half because the world couldn't take your voice. So do it.
That was one of the other great reasons I enjoyed seeing The Empty Man all alone by myself, because there were so many scenes that had no exposition whatsoever. Scenes that probably went for about 10, 15, maybe even 20 minutes. At least that's what it felt like. And I think it goes without saying, Josh, horror movie audiences are the fucking worst.
Yeah.
Because I was the only audience member, I could actually pay fucking attention. And there's nobody to ask the painfully obvious questions like, hey, that bear was in the background. Where is it now? It's just like, I don't know. Let's watch and we'll fucking find out, shall we? Never had to do that.
And in the wise words of the man I almost got in a fight with over Geostorm because him and his 2 whores wouldn't shut up on a date. He hired 2 prostitutes.
Yeah, you've told me
Want
this
to talk
story
during the
before.
movie? You should stay home.
Or as Stuckman said when in the first Conjuring, where some ladies were just like, oh no, and he just goes, ladies, if I wanted audio commentary, I would have bought the Blu-ray.
Yes, exactly. But yeah, that's why I hate exposition because it just leads to people talking.
Yeah.
The more you
not to
explain,
mention-
the more people talk about it. The less you explain, the more people think, and the quieter they are.
Not to mention, it treats us like complete dumbasses, which is a
I
classic
don't like being
studio
treated as an
executive.
idiot. But yeah,
Which
that's
is
our
a classic studio executive decision. And that Bo Burnham interview I told you about, he also said it best that movies about teenagers, movies that are made for teenagers, are actually undervalued, or at least teenagers are undervalued by movies that are made for them, which is why stuff like 8th Grade or Where the Wild Things Are, where it's just like, we made movies about childhood, not movies for children.
8th Grade is very good.
It is, yeah.
I enjoyed it greatly. Bo Burnham's got a new Netflix special I got to watch. I hear it's pretty good.
Yeah, I've heard good stuff. And honestly, I've never actually listened to any of his stand-ups. So that'd be...
I've seen a bit, some of his early YouTube stuff, but I just haven't caught up. It's been a while.
That reminds me, I still haven't seen Promising Young Woman.
I have not.
I mean, I've heard he's good. And honestly, seeing him as a romantic lead would be pretty nice.
I streamed half of it, and then I wanted to watch the whole thing, so I don't consider myself having seen it.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Because I just wanted to check it out to see if it was worth my time, and then I want to go pay for a movie theater or watch it on a streaming service in proper quality because it looks pretty decent.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
But yeah, I got a little angry today, and you lost your voice a bit there, and your voice was cracking a little bit between number 4 and number 3, and
yeah, but
I got a little passionate, and
I always do that though.
Yeah. A little bit, yeah. I that's our show for today. I'm now done being angry because I got it all out of my system. I'm just happy that y'all watched the show. Thanks for being here. Tyler,
yeah,
what are you plugging
and
this week? What's going on the Tyler Wolf with 2 eps for fun fantastic?
That is a very good question. I am currently looking for new and old movies to review. Since it's Pride Month, I might be reviewing something like the original Boys in the Band from 1970 or a couple others that have slipped under a lot of people's radar, or is it even socially acceptable to say slip under the gaydar?
I mean, Criterion's got a selection of LGBTQ films that you can look at.
Yeah, so does TIFF.
one.
And now that I realize it, I haven't seen that one Shiva Baby yet.
I don't know what that is.
It was a TIFF movie about a bisexual girl at a Jewish celebration who bumps into her ex-girlfriend, and she's also there with her sugar daddy, and shit goes south. And it's apparently a comedy, even though the musical score is more of a horror score.
How many misunderstandings happen?
I don't know, but the ex-girlfriend is one of the Glee girls, so there should be at least a couple.
Yeah, I mean, if we're looking at what would I say? Paris is Burning is a fantastic documentary. I highly recommend you check it out.
Or I could talk about Bound from the Wachowskis, because that's a really good one.
I don't know that one.
Gina Gershon and Jennifer Tilly, they're like a couple, and they're trying to steal money from Joe Pantoliano.
No, my brain has never heard of this movie.
Really? That was their movie.
Check it out, though.
That was their movie before The Matrix.
Huh. I'd also say check out Disobedience with Rachel Weisz. That's a really good flick as well, if you get a chance.
Which reminds me, there's a subject for another video I'd like.
Summerland's really good. That one's great as well. If you get a chance to check that one out. Giant Little Ones is a really nice, cute little movie. So, yeah, lots of good stuff out there. I don't know any anime or any animated movies.
That's fine. That's fine.
It's not my forte.
I know.
Well, yeah, lots of good stuff out there. The Criterion's got a selection. I'm sure Netflix has a selection. They're highlighting that one as well. So
Yeah, they probably.
and as Tyler will correct me from last week's show, apparently Love Vincent has nothing to do with Love Simon or whatever. I guess
Dear
I was
Evan
wrong.
Hansen is an adaptation of a Broadway musical, and it comes out in September, which means it might be a TIFF movie, and I hope it is.
Well, yeah, that just wanted to correct myself from last week because I remembered because I really thought it was a sequel to Love Simon.
I just love that Elisa didn't bother you to correct on
It
that.
has the same font as Love Simon on a white background with a dude's face. How am I supposed to not relate those two?
Okay, I kind of understand that, but at the same time,
there were so many movies to cover in last week's show, so
I'm surprised you even bothered covering every single one of them.
I wanted to see if we could.
Well, you succeeded. That I know for sure.
Yeah, we talked about a lot of movies. I wanted to highlight some of the indie ones too. So, yeah.
Yeah, that Rebecca Hall horror movie I hadn't even heard of.
Oh, the Night House?
Yeah.
Night House looks freaking cool.
Yeah, which
I watched the first minute of it and I don't want to know anymore. That's all I need to know. The house is backwards. That's it.
And interestingly enough, theaters would probably reopen by the time that comes out. So
I genuinely only know that her husband disappears and that there's an opposite house with one of her in it. And it sounds freaking weird. And I don't want to know a damn thing about it after that.
Okay, yeah, that does sound pretty cool.
It sounds weird, right? And I watched like a minute of the trailer and I was like, whoa. I like the vibe. I like the shooting. This is weird. I mean, they could have just reversed the footage and shot everything in the same house. Who knows?
Is it A24? Because it kind of looks like
I don't know. But that one looks pretty cool.
Night House. There we are.
It just looks really neat.
Oh, it's Fox Searchlight. Huh.
That could be really good then. You know what Fox Searchlight gave us? Hereditary and Midsummer.
Not really a fan of Hereditary, but I do like Midsommar.
It is terrifying.
Midsommar is very much so.
Yeah, so is Hereditary. I don't like either film. But I like them as films, but I don't like watching them, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. I'm just looking forward to Ari Aster doing that 4-hour Joaquin Phoenix movie he said he would make.
That sounds like a long one, but I'm sure that guy knows how to make a movie. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's rumors that Joker 2 is greenlit. That's going to be weird, but we'll find out. Yeah, next week, I don't know what we're talking about yet because we haven't discussed it, but we will tell you when we know. We'll probably announce it on the Nonsense Show so you guys can hear what you're talking about next week. But thanks for tuning in. Thanks for doing all that stuff. Tyler, what we got up on the channel?
Well, we still got my reviews up for There Is No Evil and Street Gang, how we got to Sesame Street. We're still trying to coordinate a location and a date for our Army of the Dead rant because trying to get into the same room as possible or the same location as possible is, for some reason, still an incredible challenge for the guy who works for us. You know, the premier.
Yes, the government wants us all to be alone.
Yeah. I don't know why. We're not reelecting him.
Because they are alone, so they want us to feel the same way as them. Yeah, check out all your reviews there. What was that one for that horror movie that you were talking about?
Which one?
The thriller piece that you said was really good. The 4-in-1. Let's pull it up on the channel.
Oh, yeah, that is There Is No Evil.
Oh, There Is No Evil. Okay, yeah.
That's the Iranian one that I keep talking about. It is like the best movie I've seen all year so far.
Yeah, and you got How to Get to Sesame Street, which they never how you tell you get to there, and you got all
No, they really don't.
So.
That part's still frustrating as hell.
Yep. I think Sesame Street is in your mind when you eat too many Flintstone vitamins, but that's my thought. Thanks for joining us on the Josh and Tyler Show. Check out all our shows. Tomorrow, check out Saving Grace. June 5th debuts at noon, I do believe. My psychological horror film. That'll be promoted before every show for the rest of the month. So you will see this trailer a lot. Get used to it because I made a movie and it took me forever. So you'll go see the trailer because I did it. And if you don't like it, well, you go make a movie. That's my thought process. Tyler, say something awesome.
As you know, quit fucking saying that. We all know it, so don't fucking say it. That is the worst exposition setup ever.
What do you mean they were the killer? We'll see you next time. Welcome to Butt.